Welcome back to another episode of the Nat1Nerds. This is Election Night Live 2020 edition. We're not actually live, we're recording it. But tonight is the night the election is happening, and it is definitely exciting. I don't know if anyone else has been keeping up with it, but let's go ahead and do introductions and we'll talk about it maybe some more. But we've got Rymar up in the up left hand corner for you guys.
Yes.
We have Tyler in the upper right hand corner for you guys, and we have Derek in the bottom right hand corner. And we got me, David. I think we did one last week and it went pretty well. But has anyone looked at the election stuff so far today?
Biden is winning right now.
He is. Currently at 9:01 p.m. Eastern time. We are at 48% Joe Biden and 50.6% for Donald Trump for the popular vote, but the electoral votes is 119 for Joe and 92 for Donald. So it is still very, very close, and there's a lot of states still that have to go, including a lot of Midwestern states and a lot of states that haven't been won yet. In fact, I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like Texas hasn't finished yet, but it looks like the Democrats are leading in Texas. Very interesting. The whole
That's surprising.
Yeah, I know, isn't it?
The Texas being led by Democrats is really awkward to me. PA is being led by Democrats too, though, so that's
I'm surprised by that one too.
pretty big.
We will see. We'll see where this goes. I think that I'm almost positive this is gonna end up in the court. Just like what was it? George Bush and I forgot his name. Al Gore.
If you hadn't asked,
Al Gore and George Bush. But I bet it won't end as peacefully either. I bet this will get dragged out as long as it can by both parties.
I mean, why not?
Yeah. It'll be and Michigan is currently being led by the Republicans, which is really surprising to me too.
That is pretty surprising.
But yeah.
But I'm assuming.
I mean,
go ahead.
I don't follow politics too closely, but I voted, of course, and I'm gonna watch. I try not to follow it till I see the results. Like, just let me know who won.
Yeah, there's a lot of states left that could really. I mean, like Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Arizona, Montana, Minnesota, Iowa.
California is left out there right now too.
Yeah,
so.
But all the ones I just mentioned are big reds, are traditionally red states, I think, except maybe not Colorado actually. Utah for sure. But it'll be interesting to see. But that's not really the big thing. Like, you can have more states, but each state, depending on which one it is, has more electoral votes than the other does.
Yeah.
So Florida is actually still being contested, which has 29 electoral votes. So
Florida's huge. If Trump wins that, we might. I think that Biden might not win.
Florida is currently being led by the red. I kind of thought about live streaming this because I thought we could do like a cool little follow the election until we were done for the night while streaming. But then I thought it'd be a little bit hard to get that all set up.
Game and do that at the same time.
Yeah. But
because I can't just sit there and watch it.
Yeah, well, I was figured we'd talk for a little bit, like an hour, to do like the normal podcast, and then like maybe we could have like a little clip of the. I'm currently watching it on Google. I have it running on there, and I just hit refresh every now and again. But if Trump does get Florida, that'll put him at 121, which would be just ahead of Biden. But there's some big states left. I mean, you got California, Oregon, and Washington, which are all really big and blue states. And I'm pretty sure they hold a lot of votes too. So, yeah. I mean,
the swing states were Pennsylvania and Michigan this year. Those were the big states that he was talking about. He needed to win. So
he's currently losing Pennsylvania. But honestly, earlier, like I saw this like around 7:00. Georgia and a few of these other states that have been confirmed red wins were leading as blue at first, and then. Like, I checked on it again an hour later, and then it was either Republican win or Republican leading. It just flip-flopped. So
Well, Florida is about to flip flop again. It looks like. Well, never mind.
it's definitely fun to watch. Yeah, because Florida is really big. It's 51 to 47, Republican being 51 and Democrat being 47. But very exciting. I am going to try to, just so everyone knows here and anyone that keeps up and watches, I am going to try to make it a point to where we get one of these out a week. And I'm going to go ahead and try and do this one the soonest because it'll be the most relevant. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about besides politics. But, this would be the beginning of this. I'm sure people would be interested in knowing. But I'm assuming everyone voted, right?
I did.
Yep.
Indeed.
Did you guys early vote or did you go today or what?
I early voted. I
No,
voted
I went
like
today.
a week, 2 weeks ago.
How busy was it today, Derek?
Not busy at all.
No?
Yeah, that's what I've
I'm
heard from
assuming everyone
everybody
early
that I've
voted.
talked to.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
I have
Everyone early
something to
voted.
say about this election right now too, real quick.
Sure.
So if you look at Virginia, 13 electoral votes, right? The
Yeah.
popular vote, Joe
Donald
Biden,
Trump.
39.9, Donald Trump, 58.3, but the
Mhm.
Electoral College voted blue.
Yep.
I mean,
I don't know how that works. I think it depends on the districts, right? Like which districts end up voting for which one. Is that not how that works?
Yeah, so it depends on which places. Okay, so it's actually not complete yet, but again, the highest number of blue. It says it's over. The state's won. So the highest number of blue is what got voted in, even though there's more red votes in the state. So this just shows you how much the popular vote actually matters. Sorry.
well, I mean, it is broken up into districts, and I think that different counties are broken into certain districts too, right?
Mhm.
So, like if you look at Tennessee itself, you look over at Davidson County, that's 67% blue, but red won for the district. So, yeah, I'm not
have to go-
completely up on how all that works, but
It's
Yeah, I have to go check on Parker again. He's in there singing. I'll be right back,
it's fine.
guys. Sorry.
Yeah, and by the way, just so everyone knows, Brandon may be in and out from this one. He has to look after his kid. But I think, like you said, Tyler, I'm pretty sure it is very much like some districts have more votes than others, just like some states have more votes than others. And one could argue that's actually a form of gerrymandering, but I guess that's a conversation for another day. But you also can't have straight up vote count for vote, right? Like you have to have some. I don't know. I guess that's a bit of a contested topic, but you do have to have you have to have representation for the people that live in like North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. They have to have just as much of a say as people in California do, right? Because there's more people who live in San Francisco than there are that live in Nebraska. But on another token, the needs of people who live in San Francisco is 110% different than people who live in Nebraska, right? I mean, your staples are the same, right? Everyone needs food, water, shelter, but people in San Francisco don't need help with corn subsidy or something like that, right? Where people in Nebraska might. And where maybe you need more emission control in San Francisco, but in Nebraska, like there's probably one car per every 20 miles, right? So, and this is just random numbers and my own thoughts, but you do kind of have to, I guess you do have to account for that stuff too when you account for how they do the electoral college. But otherwise, I mean, the only people who would really have a say in your votes every year would be your biggest cities: New York City, San Francisco, Oregon, Portland. Man, they would have the biggest say in who gets elected every time.
I think what's going to be interesting to see is who does win the popular vote and how vocal are the the minority of certain people. I'm just looking like, everybody that I've talked to, like this is just my personal experience. Like I've heard a lot more people trash talk Trump than I have trash talk Biden.
Oh yeah.
Which is saying something considering where I live.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the popular vote plays out. Like, I don't know.
And unless anyone really wants to talk about like who they're really for or against, and like we don't have to go their way, we can talk in generalizations. But generally speaking, people on the left are a lot more vocal than people on the right are. But I also think that I think that the right gets a lot of attention when they do speak up, and where the left is kind of always dominating the media. You know, at least that's just my perception on it. But like when the right does speak up, like they end up getting a lot of coverage, and
that's how I kind of feel on it as well. But at the same time, there's the radical right as well, and then there's the radical left as well.
Oh, yeah.
And those guys are always talking, like no matter what. Yeah. I think, and I agree that the right usually, but not the radical right, but the right usually does keep themselves like a little more discerned, if you will.
That's the meaning of conservative is to be conserved.
True, but and the leftists always are pretty outspoken and everything like that. And the radical lefts are like the super ridiculously outspoken people. So I agree with you on that, and the fact that I think the right, when they do speak, they get a little bit more coverage. But I think that you also have to look at it, the fact that there are those radical right that do speak out a lot, that don't get the coverage as well. And I don't know exactly what was said between now and then, but
I mean, you have a lot of people who, and I don't know, this is a totally different issue in general, but I want to say left or right or liberal, whatever, but that's what they are. The Democratic Party or the Liberal Party generally dominates social media pretty well. Between Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, the Liberal Party is usually the more powerful voice on those platforms. And something that I'm not really for is the reason why it's like that is because I don't know if it's because they're more vocal or just there's that opinion's held more strongly, but a lot of people, the censor or cancel culture or censorship of people on platforms is kind of I kind of think of it as a pretty big issue, actually. I don't think people need to be censored. I think, and people will probably hate on this, but I think Joe Rogan's stance on it is, combat fake news with good news or real news. Like don't just censor people who are spouting off nonsense. Let people talk about it and have a dialogue, and let the people who have either the more sensible opinion or the more correct facts shine out further than people who are speaking nonsense, because I think censorship is a very slippery slope.
So I think there's two pieces of advice on that. One, don't feed the trolls, and two, I mean, if you're approaching a situation with anything other than the intent to understand the opposition's position, it's not going to be a very constructive conversation.
Yeah,
it's going to be it's going to be a pissing match on, okay, how can I change their mind? How can I convince them? You can't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just approach and try to understand their perspective. And if you don't see eye to eye, well, that's okay, because you know what, at the end of the day, you're both human beings. You both have your own issues. Like, you can live together in the same place, whether the person you voted for is not running the country or not. Like, your day-to-day life isn't going to change all that much, to be honest. No matter which way you go, it goes. Tomorrow is not going to be that much different unless people make it that way. They were boarding up DC. Businesses were boarding up their businesses, and
Oh, not just DC, everywhere, or a lot of places.
Well, yeah.
Hey, did you see that Colorado is blue now?
I did. Well, I said that was one that would probably be blue, just for the sole fact that they have legal marijuana.
I'm still crazy. I'm still amazed at Texas, and it's not even just Texas. It's 3 of the largest cities: Dallas, Houston, and freaking Austin.
Well,
and then San Antonio.
To be honest,
El Paso,
Austin and Dallas are very those are probably the liberal hotspots of Texas. To be completely honest with it, that's where most of your colleges are. Well, usually bigger cities are more liberal because they have.
I know, but it's weird the way that works out. Your more rural areas tend to be, more conservative, whereas your more metropolitan areas tend to be more liberal. Like,
I'm sure there's a reason for that. State to go.
It's explainable by people who are smarter than me, but
yeah, there's still a lot of state to go in Texas. A lot of state to go.
I think a lot of that has to do with, like I said, I think Brandon, you stepped away for this bit. Every place, even if you don't go state to state, if you look inside of Texas alone, Brand, what I had said earlier is that every states have different needs. Like the people of San Francisco, California, have way different needs than the people who live in Omaha, Nebraska. Like there's a lot of different issues going on there. One is having to deal with pollution control, and the other one's dealing with crop yield or something like that, or hurricanes or tornadoes. Like, and same thing. Like if we just look at Texas itself, the needs of people who live in Houston, Texas, or San Antonio, Texas, is way different than people who live up in the Panhandle, in the more rural parts of Texas. Like they have way different issues going on and things that are important to them. So,
I guess that would kind of shift what they prioritize in terms of what issues they're going to vote on. What value they're going to vote on.
An easy thing to say is like a part of it could be education, and that could be very much be a big issue. But I know a lot of people who are very smart Republicans, and I know a lot of people who are very dumb Republicans, and this vice versa. I know a lot of very dumb Democrats, and a lot of really smart Democrats.
There might be a trend there, but I don't know necessarily that it's causation.
I think it's issues that you see around you is what influences people's votes. And
I guess that makes sense.
Imagine living in me or us actually. Imagine living in rural Tennessee, right? And then seeing these riots happening in Wisconsin, right? And like, well, I don't want that on my doorstep, so I'm gonna go vote red, right? Because red's approaches law and order.
They're the working class, out, rural America, farming and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Like they want to keep what they have theirs. They don't want anybody touching it and just leave them to their own. So they're going to vote more conservative than they would liberal.
Yeah, and I've always prided myself, like you were talking about earlier, Tyler, about you have to be able to see what the other side is looking at, really, to be able to understand and have an actual constructive conversation, right? And I've always prided myself on being a very centrist person. Like I see, like, there's a lot of stuff on both sides, which is kind of a shame why there's only a two-party system, right? I see stuff on both sides that I'm really for. Like, I definitely don't want gun control, right? Or not in the fact that, as in, like, I don't want people to take guns away. I think that a key factor of our society has been about, like, being able to maintain arms and have like a militia, which may come in handy, I guess, here in the next couple of weeks. You never know.
What's honestly scary about that kind of situation is, how do you recognize a militia versus a domestic terrorism?
Oh, nowadays probably you can't. I mean,
yeah,
like you really can't. In fact, they're more likely to be labeled a domestic terrorist than to be recognized as a militia, just for the sole factor of depending on like how much it grew and the widespread. Is that tasty, Brandon? Okay. I mean,
I'm starving.
I feel like the government's more likely to shut down something like that now than they have been in the past, where, like, back in the day when you didn't really have police officers on every street almost, or just that in general, like, you didn't have law enforcement everywhere. You had people, regular everyday citizens, keeping control of making sure that their neighbors weren't being pieces of shit, But like, so, now you don't really have that, right? So that's why I have police.
Unfortunately.
Eric.
Yeah.
Yes.
How's it going?
Just sitting here listening to you guys.
Yeah. Well, just trying to involve you in the conversation a little bit,
Well, it's different because Derek's normally the one that helps lead the conversation.
Yes, it is. I am not one of those people that says, "Oh, I'm not into politics," and then talks about it for 3 hours. I am not into politics.
Let me.
I don't talk about it.
Let me give you a scenario, Derek, that maybe, I don't know. I kind of find stuff like this fascinating, not necessarily political, but I was talking to some people. I was talking to my parents the other day, and we were talking about how in our generation, there's a slight chance, not necessarily a great chance, that our country ends up fracturing into, like, the southeast United States of America and the northeast United States of America and the western United States of America. Does anyone have any thoughts about that? And, like, do you think that's something possible that could happen in our lifetime, or what?
I mean, I think it becomes more likely. I think it's becoming more likely as we move on, but
I think it is likely, but at the same time, I'm on edge about it because there's a lot of people, and especially like our area, for example, some of the more highly populated areas in Tennessee, for example. We are a red state, mind you, but in some of the more populated areas, there's a lot of blue, like a lot of blue. Like I drove through my parents' neighborhood the other day, and I saw an abundance of Biden signs over Trump signs, and normally in that neighborhood, it's Trump, like all the way. So I'm like, if it does separate, if we do separate into like a civil union type thing, war, then I mean, I think there's a lot of infighting in those areas as well.
Well, not even necessarily having it be a war. It's just like there comes a point in every empire, which is what America is. It's an empire. Granted, it's the longest running empire in history, but it's still, for all intents and purposes, an empire. Where they get too large and are unable to take care of their citizens because the needs are so drastically different. Like we were again going back to that, the needs between people, even in their own states and their cities and the suburbs, are so different between each other, then it just becomes unstable and you can't please everybody. And you kind of see a little bit of kind of not really fracturing, but people going their own ways and states doing their own thing, just with coronavirus, right? Some states have mask mandates, some states don't. Some states are on full lockdown, some states aren't. And everyone who runs their states have their own opinions. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, United States is a massive place, and some of the states, like Texas, for example, is the same size as the United Kingdom. Like geographically speaking, the entirety landmass of the United Kingdom can pretty much fit into Texas. And so, I mean, they're big enough to practically be their own country on their own, and a lot of states are. And that's kind of my reasoning and seeing like why something like that could happen.
Okay, so I just have to say this: we are not the longest lasting empire.
Oh, we're not. Who's the longest?
No, we've only
empire?
been around for 75 years.
75 years.
I mean,
yeah, the Galactic Empire lasted for 157 years.
Where are you getting 75?
Yeah, let's say maybe 275 years. Because 1776 is when the United States was formed.
No, that was the beginning of the Civil War in 1776.
You said that was the beginning of what?
That's Civil War.
No, July 4th, 1776 is when the Congress declared independence from Great Britain.
You're right, yeah. July
4th. That's the holiday.
It was the colony's last. Yeah,
I do want to point out that that still doesn't make us the longest lasting empire.
Okay.
No.
Mesopotamia, Babylon. Babylon was 400 years.
Maybe I should go back and say we are one of the longest reigning empires. I think the Roman Empire actually still holds the crown for the longest reigning. Let me see what it says on here. Guinness Book of World Records. Apparently it lasted for 1,500 years, which is kind of crazy in itself.
Yeah, Mesopotamia it was 1,400 years, or almost 1,400 years.
But still.
So we're actually in the lower tier, to be honest with you, of
infancy.
Surviving empires, yeah.
We essentially though we are one of the longest reigning empires though, and we currently.
So it starts Roman, and then the Kush Empire, the Republic of Venice,
Kush Empire.
The Silla Empire is number 4. The Holy Roman Empire is number 5. Kanem Empire is number 6. Ethiopian Empire is number 7. Khmer Empire, number 8. Number 9 is the Ottoman Empire. Number 10 is the Portuguese Empire, and that's not even including Mesopotamia. That's the first 10.
Longest My point lasting. Still stands though, because the reason why a lot of these places had reigned for as long as they did is because there simply is no alternative, and communication was so drastically different then than it is now. And just if you lived in the middle of rural England back in 300 AD, right, and said, all right, hey, your land now belongs to King George, you're like, okay, my lord. And then someone comes back to you the next day and says, all right, well, now King Arthur is in charge. And he's like, okay, my lord. And all you're doing is farming potatoes still. So, like, there's a lot more.
So it's kind of like modern day, in that someone says, "Okay, your president is so and so."
It is.
All right.
But people have more of a say now, and things can drastically change much quicker than they could back then.
I mean,
We
didn't
still
we
pay
essentially
taxes.
just point out that people don't have a say?
Oh, you mean as far as like the electoral college and their vote and all that? I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it
know.
matters.
It does.
The electoral votes are supposed to be representative.
Yeah, I mean, technically, if you have a majority popular vote, that's supposed to indicate where you vote. Your electoral college is supposed to vote. But then again, as me and Tyler were talking about, the way that the districts and everything are laid out depends on like some electoral colleges get more votes than others. But either way, I don't know. Going back to again, do you guys see within our lifetimes, probably when we're old and gray or grayer, if that's the case for anyone, do you think that we could see the states fracturing, the United States fracturing?
Yeah, I do.
I could definitely see
It could happen.
I mean, formally,
Yeah, breaking off into their own subsects, like the southeastern states of the United States and the northeastern states of the United States, kind of like it was back in the day, the North and the South, and then like
I don't
even
think it
having a
happens,
western
to
and
be
a
honest.
midwestern states.
I don't see it happening.
No, I feel like it
Well, the
would.
problem is,
It'll be a very
Socially,
long, slow
sure.
burn. I think it'll be a very long, slow burn for it to happen, but it'll eventually happen, I think.
I mean, socially, sure. I could see people kind of doing that. Formally, I don't see it happening.
What were you saying,
no,
Brandon?
I was gonna say the problem is you just have too many opinions in
Differences
the
of
areas you're
opinion.
speaking of. Yeah, and I don't think that enough people would band together to make that happen.
Well, I think in some places, right? Like I think the West Coast has a majority opinion of of ideals that they carry, and then the southeastern states have a very majority opinion of ideals that they carry, right? So I mean, like,
Yeah.
I think it just depends. Like I think what's really interesting. There's a book called 1 Second After, and I think maybe I've talked to you guys about it on here before. But essentially, it involves, and this is like a disaster scenario, right? And like this is the America getting attacked by. In the book, it was North Korea. They launched an EMP and it knocked out pretty much all the electronics over the entirety of the United States. They were able to like launch 3 EMPs, and it pretty much crippled the United States. No power, no internet, no phones, nothing worked. Everyone kind of reverted back to like Appalachian times, where you're cooking and hunting food for survival and all this stuff. And what ended up happening was the Chinese started coming in doing relief projects on the West Coast, and then started pretty much assimilating the Western United States into Chinese culture, and almost started, like in the book, it almost started a war, which is pretty cool. But with all the talk of outside influences, Russia, China, etc., affecting the U.S., it wouldn't be surprising to me if forces at play would happen like that. Like, it only takes one really big disaster that America can't handle on their own for a foreign government to be allowed, or like China, let's say there's a massive earthquake that happens in California and it decimates the entire West Coast, and America's just too overwhelmed to be able to handle on their own. Chinese foreign aid comes in, helps out under the guise of being foreign aid, and then says, all right, well, it doesn't look like you can take care of your states anymore, and your citizens want to be Chinese now, so we're coming to take it. And it's not a far cry. There's actually some cool nonfiction books written about stuff like that, and I think what is the game about it? What is it? Rising. There's a game about the occupation of North Korea in the United States. Red Dawn, maybe the movie too. But
I think that's right. Red Dawn.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. To be honest with you, I have thought seriously about like the infrastructure in different areas, like Canada, for example, with free healthcare. I mean, Britain has free healthcare too, right?
Yeah.
If I'm incorrect,
socialized medicine is probably the correct term for it all. But yeah.
Either way, I see that and I want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to have to worry about paying for health insurance every month. Mind you, I don't care to, but I think that we could benefit from socialized healthcare. And socialism isn't a great thing per se, but at the same time, I think that the healthcare systems that they have are working, and I think that it would work here as well.
The funny thing is that those countries aren't socialist. They're also democracies, right? That have some social. It's not even socialist policies. It's like having social service policies. And yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's absolutely ridiculous for people to have to pick between. We'll go with the most horrific thing possible. Pick between having to fight a battle with cancer and bankrupting your family and your estate versus dying with cancer. I think that's totally ridiculous.
I'll give you something. Think about this. I had to make a choice about 2-3 years ago. Do I need to buy Parkinson's medication, or do I need to buy my kids dinner?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I passed on the Parkinson's medication because my kids needed food. I just dealt with shaking for a few days, and it's one of those things. It's like if free healthcare would be one of the greatest things that could ever happen to the U.S. Now, mind you, whether left or right do it, I think that one of them need to do it. I don't care who gets voted as long as something gets changed. I think that's my thing. I want to see actual like progress towards something, because all I've seen recently is people undoing things that other people are doing to try and make our economy better, and it's working on both sides. Obama undid stuff, Trump's undone stuff, Bush undid stuff, Clinton undid stuff.
Every administration will go through and undo the last person's stuff.
Exactly, and that's the problem. Most of the work that they're doing right now is undoing. They're not fixing. They're just breaking what's already broken and making it worse.
I'm super surprised. Sorry, I just have
not left or right.
I'm super surprised Derek doesn't have stronger opinions about this, because he has opinions about everything else.
I mean, I completely understand Derek's silence in this situation, and if we weren't doing a podcast, I would be completely silent about it as well, because I don't like to talk politics.
But I have something we don't.
It's true.
It's not necessarily we're talking politics.
Watching us now.
We're talking about. I mean, I would consider socialized medicine and free healthcare as being more of a philosophical topic than or like a moral topic than as opposed to a political. I mean, it's being politicized, but I think of it as a moral conversation or a philosophical conversation more than anything.
Yeah.
But Tyler, you were about to say something. Want to see. Weren't you, Tyler?
I forgot exactly what it was I was going to say, but I was going to say I'm all for calling it socialized healthcare because it's not free. It's got to be paid for somehow. Mm-hmm. Because all the countries that have socialized healthcare, they're paying a lot more in taxes.
Yep.
But see, I'm okay with that too. I don't care to pay a little bit more. I don't care to pay more in taxes if I'm not having to pay as much for healthcare.
Yeah, I will absolutely not dispute the fact that
absolutely.
That's what I'm going with right now. I will absolutely disagree that our healthcare solutions that we have now, health insurance, has got to be the biggest scam of modern day.
Insurance in general.
That is such a broke ass system. It is insane.
So yes, let's let Derek have his thing because he has an opinion now.
So the system needs changed. But let me call out a point, okay? Brandon, I need you to pay my electric bill this month.
Yeah, I can barely pay my own, so.
I mean, but you don't have a choice. You have to. That's basically what you're saying on the healthcare thing.
So,
here's the thing. I currently don't receive healthcare for anything. So I would be paying other people's healthcare bills.
Well, what happens when you finally need it and you do have to start paying for it, right?
What if I don't need it?
Well, here's the thing. You're supposed to be going to the doctor every year, at least once.
Yeah, you should. I actually started doing that last year. But here's the thing,
But a healthy person pays as much as an unhealthy person, and the unhealthy person gets a lot more of the benefit.
I completely understand what you're saying as well, but at the same time, you have to think about it this way. So, I had bariatric surgery, right? That was completely elective. I would have paid for that out of pocket no matter what. My insurance covered it for me because of the fact that I pay for insurance. If I was not paying for insurance and the state or whatever socialist insurance we have covers bariatric surgery, I wouldn't take an elective surgery because of that reason. I'm not gonna walk into an office and be like, hey, I'll take bariatric surgery on someone else's dime. That is what you're speaking of, because it is not, it's not an elective thing. I'm not electing to go buy Parkinson's medication tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I'm electing
I'm not
to
electing to have power either.
I'm electing to keep myself healthy. Technically, you are, because you don't have to have power. You can live without power.
Okay, food. How about food? Let's do food.
Okay, I already pay for people's food every single day.
And how much do you like that?
I don't care. It's in taxes, so I don't see it.
What are food stamps?
Well,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if you didn't, you would get more money.
But I
mean,
honestly,
you know,
dude,
and
I
people
don't
abuse
care to
that
help
system already.
people that are in more need than me, too, though.
But a lot of the people getting food stamps are not in more need.
I want to interject just real quick because the thing that this is where a lot of people get tripped up right about as far as like their taxes and everything concerned. It's true, people would maybe pay a little bit more in taxes for healthcare, but I think there's an easy solution to that, and I think I forgot who I had this conversation with. Maybe it was with y'all, or maybe it was somebody else. The whole like thing about like I hate the term "eat the rich" because it makes it sound like people who are doing well for themselves are bad people, right? And that's not necessarily the case. You first of all, you have to make the statement: you can't blame rich people for avoiding taxes when they're doing it legally, right? Like you just can't. You can't blame people who are making a lot of money who can legally avoid taxes to do so if it's been made legally through government and etc. Now,
Okay.
where you can end up helping pay for a lot of this social services or socialized policies, or like healthcare, for example, is you close up these loopholes and credits that people get for everything. And I know this will be I'm the odd one out on this one, but you get rid of credits for having children, you get rid of credits for having tax or electric cars, you get rid of credits for having low or high efficiency blah blah blahs. You get rid of the credits and stuff that these big businesses have, and you just charge everyone a flat 15%. And what that'll do we'll use Amazon as an example that paid practically $0 or $0 in one of their tax return years. They're going to be paying more money than they ever had before because they're actually having to pay taxes for once as opposed to not pay for them. Right? So like that's already going to be a gigantic influx of cash because it's not just Amazon who's avoiding taxes, right? They just get the biggest megaphone out there for people whistleblowing against because they're a gigantic company. Every big business is avoiding taxes in some capacity, and if you get rid of all the loopholes,
every small
credits,
business,
everyone. If you get rid of all the loopholes and everything, and you just charge a flat 15% to everyone who's making $10 a day, all the way to $4 billion a day, then you will end up having. It would end up balancing itself out. Just having people pay, and this is where people end up falling off, right? Because everyone likes to call it they're going to raise our taxes, when in reality a much easier sell would be we're closing up the loopholes that keep people from paying their share of taxes. That would be a much easier sell. But the right, and again, I'm a very middle person, but the right always makes it sound like it's going to be, well, they're raising our taxes, instead of it being, no, we're just getting rid of the loopholes that keep people from paying what they should be paying. But anyways,
guys, I think to do a real quick election update.
I think that would
really
pay for
quick
a lot of that stuff, though. But go ahead, Brandon.
Biden just won DC by 93.6% of the vote.
Wow,
that's not too surprising.
No, it is. DC's usually like half and half.
It didn't get him any more electoral votes, really, though. But
3.
Yeah, Florida, Texas is now switched to red. Florida's still undecided. Those are going to be two big ones. It's going to be a nail-biter, 100%. I don't think either one of them are going to get their 270 to win, just like last time, right? Is that not what happened with the Hillary Trump election? Neither one of them got to the 270 mark, right? And they ended up going.
Yeah, that's what happened. I think it was not the 270 mark. Now, here's the thing: if states keep turning blue and Biden does get the 270, we're gonna have courts and things like that. I think that there's gonna be a big lawsuit and stuff along those lines.
Yeah, either one who wins is probably gonna take it to court. Just to be honest. But anyways, going back to what we were talking about, Derek, do you not think something like that would help pay for a lot of the social services that people would need?
I mean, maybe some of them, but some of them it won't. People are always going to find a way to abuse the system.
You're absolutely right, and I mean, I have family that work for the government that help provide a lot of social services to people, and yeah, a lot of people do abuse what's given out there, and it's just going to happen. it comes to the point of being, is it okay for the richest country in the world, essentially, right? And that don't fact check me on that, but one of the wealthiest countries in the world, the most prosperous and most free country in the world, to have a hard time taking care of its citizens when other lesser countries are able to do it easily. And Brandon used England as an example, which isn't a great example because their social healthcare system is practically bankrupting their country at the moment. And I mean, there are problems to socialized medicine, but that doesn't remove people having private insurance either. There are plenty of countries that do it very well. The Netherlands, for example, your Nordic countries do it very well. Canada does it okay. England's not a great example just for the fact that it does have a lot of problems. I mean, imagine the biggest problem I see with social medicine is that you have to wait for stuff. Like if Brandon, if your kids have like a cold and you need to go see your primary physician, you may not get to see him for 2 weeks, and by that point they may already be over it, right? And if you
Or
don't,
depending on what it was, dead.
yeah. Well, I mean, if that's the case, and a lot of people do this even in the United States, instead of going to the doctor, they just go straight to the ER, which makes ER visits so expensive and ER time so long.
Which drives costs up, which drive
Yeah.
taxes up.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's inevitable, but I think the bigger question is like, can we? I think the can we afford not to take care of people, right? Like, can we afford not to take care of your people? And if so, then like where are we gonna draw the line at, right? I mean,
I mean, the
I don't
answer you're
think
going to
it's,
get on that is all in who you ask.
yeah,
I mean, the doctors won't get paid as much.
yeah. Oh, Brandon disconnected for a moment.
Accident.
He's back. All right. Anyways, go ahead, Tyler.
So the doctors won't get paid as much.
That's a big thing in the
Insurance
UK.
companies
Doctors
have
and
a lot of money. a lot of
doctors
swing.
and nurses strike all the time in the UK because they don't get paid enough.
Um, and I mean, okay. I kind of have an issue with saying that our country is the most wealthiest whenever we have such a large deficit that we have. Until that problem is taken care of, I don't think that socialized healthcare is something we should even be looking at. I think we need to look at, okay, if we're going to close the loopholes, let's do that for a bit and pay off some of this crap.
Yeah,
Like,
make taxes
let's
super
not add to
simple.
it.
Make taxes super simple. 15% everyone across the board. Pay your fair share. And yeah, let's get out of this debt. Like, there's no reason really for us to have such a colossal debt to places like China. Like, there's really no reason. And I watched, I don't know which podcast I was listening to, but like it's been very strategic by a lot of Japan or Chinese companies about making it to where like obviously the labor in China is a lot more economic in China because like the cost of labor is way lower in China than it is anywhere else. So, but at the same time, we could make almost all the goods that we import from China in America in some capacity, if not just the assembly of them, which would make them American made. So there's like a big thing. I forgot all the details of it, but I just remember someone saying that it's a very constructed plan about having a lot of stuff being made in China and being dependent on the Chinese market and stuff like that. And that's a big reason why a lot of U.S. manufacturers, like Apple, why are Apple phones not made in America? Like, Apple is missing a huge opportunity to call their product an American-made product, and they would probably be the biggest one to benefit for calling their product American-made. But no one cares about like where their phones or stuff come from. I mean, I have an iPhone. I mean, I didn't think about it when I bought it, but I think people should maybe think more about that kind of stuff. But I don't know.
I mean, which phone are you gonna buy that's made in America?
Oh, none. Like, there's none. That's what I'm saying. Like, we
I
have
would never buy a phone made in America, just an FYI.
we have the means of making stuff here, and we just quit doing it because, I mean, not necessarily because greed is the biggest reason. We just quit doing it because businesses have gotten more greedy over the years and have took profit over, taking care of people in their backyards, But I don't know. There's something to be said, like just quickly going back to social medicine. The company I work for that I remained unnamed, Donald Trump did a tax cut for a lot of big businesses, and I think they reduced the tax taxes to from like 24 to 20% or something like that for a lot of big businesses. And what my company did was pay for everyone's health insurance premiums based off of the money they saved from not having to pay those taxes. And I think that's really big of them. Like, I think that's awesome. There's not a lot of companies
Yeah,
that
that is pretty good. I like that.
There's not a lot of
I
companies that
don't
go
pay
out their way
anything
and
for
do
health
that.
insurance anymore. My company pays for it now.
And you know, if more companies were like that, and you know, even if they were more invested in profit sharing, because you know, I mean, I don't even let's use Amazon again, right? Amazon profit 2019. Amazon made $10 billion. Amazon has how many employees?
A lot.
Amazon employs 1 million people as of July 2020. So they made 10 billion. And I'm not saying that they should do this. I'm just doing it for simplicity. So, and they wouldn't necessarily have to do this, right? But 10 billion out of $1 million, you know, that's like $10 per person, right? That's not a huge number. But there are things that they could do, and they don't even have to spend. They don't even have to spend that entire $10 billion. But there are programs that they could do. Like plenty of companies do. In fact, I used to work for Food City, which had a employee stock ownership plan. Like doing little things like that, reinvesting into your employees and giving them options to make more money, as opposed to just keeping them in where they're out entirely. I mean, profit sharing should be more of a thing that's more common with these big businesses that make these like millions and billions of dollars. Especially maybe like even like your maybe not your even your really big ones, but there are, I forget, there's a few companies out there that have done it before where they've kind of shared profits with their employees and given them bonuses at the end of the year. And maybe not every level of employee, but for people who are definitely been there and have been loyal to you. Bring back company loyalty. Bring back a reason for people to stay loyal to your company, you know? Because at the moment, there really is none of that unless you just really like where you work at, you know?
I mean, right now the driving factor goes back to benefits, i.e., healthcare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, socialized, they'd have to compete some other way, right?
Yeah. I mean, inevitably, you know, I mean, we can sprout off into all kinds of places with this, but inevitably, you know, businesses are going to have to pay people more, or just pull out of the United States altogether and not have anyone work in the U.S. You know, the wage gap now is just increasingly getting worse and worse, and I think a big reason why there's a lot of political unrest and the civil unrest in general is that people are becoming more aware, woke, if you will, of how disproportionate the elite are from the middle class. And I think people are getting more aware of stuff like that, and just I think they're getting sick of it. Like, they're realizing that their government is not necessarily looking out for their best well-being, and instead they are looking out for themselves, you know?
I mean, okay, but I have to ask, like, why the unrest? Because someone's doing better than someone else.
I don't think it's necessarily that someone's. I don't. When I said that, I'm not saying it in a manner of someone's doing better than me. I'm saying it in the matter that our politicians aren't necessarily working for us like they should be, and I think more people are becoming aware of that. I've always, like, for the longest time, I was a huge supporter of like not raising taxes on people, and because like one day I might become as rich as Jeff Bezos. And I don't want to be taxed a lot when that happens, when in reality, the likelihood of you becoming as rich as Jeff, but you have a better chance of winning the lottery than becoming as wealthy as Jeff Bezos. You know? So, I think going back to what my company did, which was reinvest in their employees and take care of their employees, I think if more companies had that mentality, you wouldn't have to rely on your governments to do it, right? And I think that a lot of big companies have the means and the wealth to take care of their employees by giving them free healthcare and such like that. I really think that a lot of them do. I really think that they can do that. And going to what Derek said, a lot of people don't use their health insurance. So if you give it to them for free, they're constantly paying into this pool. The company is, right? Because that's how insurance works. It's a gigantic pool of money that you pull out of. Not everyone's going to use it. And so, like, let there be a pool for everyone to pull out of. And that's how most insurances work. So just, I don't know, give people a bone. Take care of the people that help run you. Take care of the people that run your country. Like, because it's not the politicians that are running the country. They're making the rules, but they're not actually running the country.
I mean, I think the companies should pay for their employees' health insurance. So, I mean, mine does. I don't pay anything for health insurance from my company.
There is a happy medium between it all, right? Like, you can't just give stuff away to people, and you can't just expect everyone to pay for everyone else, and like, because otherwise everyone will just quit working, right? And like, there's a happy medium between the two, and I think people lose sight of that when they talk about, especially socialized medicine. People lose sight of people lose sight of their generosity. Like, Tennessee is a very Christian state, right? Like, you're supposed to take care of the people that are near you, your loved ones, and all that, right? Like, that's a big principle of Christianity, is taking care of your fellow person, of your fellow man. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. And when it comes down to talking about like social services and stuff like that, where in reality it's just about taking care of your neighbors and making sure everyone's living big, healthy, prosperous lives. And that's just one example, right? Like, not to pick out Christianity or anything like that, but like, that's people are generally very wanting to help each other, but they lose sight of it when it comes down to paying taxes, and when it comes to money, people lose sight of that principle of taking care of each other.
I think it's because it comes down to they don't see the end result. They see the immediate effect on them.
Yeah. I'm less
I mean,
wealthy now.
that's money out of their pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't necessarily see the end result of, the lives that impacts.
I did not expect to go on that long about it, but I guess today is a good day to talk about stuff like that with the election going on. We can do a quick little update. It looks like a lot of the Midwest is coming in red. Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Florida are still undecided. But it is assuming DT takes Texas and Florida. It looks like he has a really good chance of winning, depending on what happens in the westmost states, huh? That's right. It's going to be a nail biter for sure.
I mean, I think every election recently has been a nail biter. So
I think Obama was a pretty big landslide when he got elected twice, wasn't it?
The first time it was. The second time it wasn't. It was a nail biter against Palin, I think.
No, Palin wasn't the front runner against Obama, I don't think.
No, but when she was running, it was a close race. She was with what's his face? I don't remember his name.
McCain. That's right. Yeah.
Yep. Senator John McCain.
Do you guys have your bunkers ready, regardless of what happens?
My bunker. I don't have a bunker. I've got an apartment, so hopefully no one comes and kills me.
Derek, you live out kind of remotely. You have a farm to go to if things go real bad, I guess.
Yeah, I also have. We also have some mountain property, so with a cabin.
We've also got plans in place for the zombie apocalypse too.
So it's kind of fall under zombie apocalypse. Just
I mean, those 200,000 bodies that we've got laying in a morgue somewhere, they're all alive. They're just hiding it from us.
from the COVID. Yeah.
I'm looking at North Carolina to see how it's going. It's pretty close.
I think in a few big areas, hot spots, if you will. I don't think anything will happen where we all live. At least I hope not. I'm less worried about anything happening with me because of where I live in relation to where you guys live. But I don't think we'll.
Yeah, but I'm coming to your house if riots break out outside my house.
Don't worry, we're stocked. We got stocked. So in more ways than one. But
and you wonder why I want a smelter. I mean, make your own bullets. Come on now.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the result, the reaction to go and destroy things.
Because that's really
stupid. It's like the modern day equivalent of grown-ups throwing a Hissy fit. Like
Temper
a
tantrum.
3-year-old. I don't understand.
Wait, hold
it.
on. What do you mean the reaction to go destroy things?
Like riot. Do a riot over like
Yeah.
your man
Oh,
not getting
riot.
elected.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
You do know
no,
that
it's
if
one thing to do
Tennessee
it for
was blue
fun.
right now,
That's one yes.
he will be
Riding-
outside in the streets.
I'm completely fine with
Uh,
going and shooting things and blowing things up
recreational
because
rioting.
for fun, recreational, in a controlled
Absolutely fine.
environment.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is going and destroying other people's property because you don't like what other people did, and it's not even necessarily the people that you're destroying, property that you're destroying that did it. It's just your 3-year-old throwing a temper tantrum. Somebody needs to whoop your ass.
Again, people have lost sight of what makes them people, which is, people came thousands, millions, billions of years ago, however you want to look at it. I think the first person was, I won't even get into that, but people have always been collectives of groups of people looking out for each other and taking care of each other. And the more, COVID has been a big factor in it, but the more distant and less social people have been getting over the years because of social media and the internet and stuff like that, the more people lose sight of like what makes them people, which is, we're a collective. We should be taking care of each other. And just like you said, people start going crazy when they start thinking about themselves.
If
Swear to
people
God.
are upset and have a point to share, like, I'm all for sharing it. Like, yeah, do that, but do it constructively.
I would love to set up a server and do a Nat1Nerds podcast, do a podcast stream, if you will,
Do a
or
paid
even like a YouTube video series on Minecraft.
Don't blow up my house again.
I'll
Get
just
Derek to,
I'll warn you.
Reason I play Minecraft.
I'll just warn you that every time I play Minecraft, it results in how much TNT does it take to crash the server?
I like to build what are they called? The reactors. Uranium. Help me, please. Nuclear reactors.
I didn't know it was
And
a thing.
see how big of a hole I can make in the world.
Wait,
Okay,
that's a thing?
so yes, that's a thing. We use mods.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lots
okay.
of
they
mods.
use a lot of mods. Yeah.
Lots of mods. There's one I spent like weeks doing like automated item sorting. So I walk into my house, drop an item in a chest, and the chest moves it and sorts it on all these different everywhere.
This is
Weeks.
the greatest blow up ever. I laid a wither in the middle of his fucking sorting facility.
Fucking wither. The wither.
Started
it's
going
blowing-
off,
It's
blowing
blowing
shit
stuff up.
everywhere, dude.
But then when you kill it, it blows up even bigger. So you either
Wow.
let it destroy the house or you blow it up and destroy the house.
It was great. It was fun to watch. You should. I wish she were there. Lauren was helping me, my wife, and you can. Lauren and I were both cracking up, and then you hear Derek. Oh my god! It's a fucking weather in my house. And as we were just watching it go, I was like, shit! I forgot it blows shit up. And then I was like, we should kill it. We killed it, and it blew up. The entire sorting facility was gone.
Wow.
Gone. Weeks of work. And then there were the chickens and the cows.
Well,
And
he
they all
thought
went
he
out.
was hidden from us too because he built an underground house.
You remember
He didn't know that
God,
we
we
knew
didn't-
where his house was at.
You remember the Rapture building I built?
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
The entire underground facility was just like made of glass, underwater.
Yeah, we
excuse me.
That was pretty
We
fucking
should
awesome.
do a let's play Minecraft Nat1Nerds edition. Only play with the four of us, and do like once a week. We play for like an hour,
I was
and
thinking
just
Derek
record
should-
it every week.
Derek should
and do
just
it on
go make
YouTube.
a server. Derek should make a server and start charging people to play on it.
But I mean, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like we do a let's play and just run through like I don't know our Minecraft server. We only play when we're playing together, and we play once a week for like an hour. We do it on like Thursday nights
It's gonna be
or
it's
after the stream.
It's gonna be. It's gonna have to be after.
Yeah.
After Shadowlands is released, because I'm planning on doing November 23rd, a 24-hour stream, and that whole week from the 23rd to the 27th, trying to get world first in Shadowlands.
So what you're
World
saying is
first
we're not
16.
doing the podcast on the 24th.
No, probably not. I'll be playing WoW. I'm
Alright,
doing.
so what
I'm
we can
doing-
do-
I'm doing a 24-hour stream on Monday, and it's gonna be from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Tuesday. So I might have time if I'm alive still.
If you're alive
No,
still.
we'll just cancel the podcast that night. That way you can do a 48-hour stream. Enjoy yourself.
No, I won't do a 40-hour stream. I might be
Jeez.
able to. If I get enough Red Bull, I might be able to.
So you'll be sitting here like shooting an IV drip of Red Bull.
I can't
Chasing it with
go back
Monster
to that
Energy
game, guys. I'm
drinks.
sorry, but I cannot play World of Warcraft. It's not gonna happen.
It's gonna happen for me. I'm gonna give it a good shot. For everything I've read says that you can hit world level 60 from level 50 in 12 hours. So, well, I guess we'll see. We're gonna put it to the test. But
I mean, how many
ever
people on your
just,
server do you have that are that dedicated?
I'm
to,
gonna
though?
transfer
You know what I'm
it to a lower pop server. For less
say,
lag and
I was gonna say, did we ever decide where you were gonna play in? Like, is Robert gonna end up moving over there?
I am gonna end up maining on Thrall, but I will probably move my main character. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do a Demon Hunter because it's probably the easiest class to play and probably the easiest one to level. And I'm probably gonna move it to like a low pop RP server or something like that. Where can we find you at Rymar?
You can find me on Twitch at Rymar865 and on Twitter at Rymar_865.
And you're gonna be doing some YouTube here soon, right?
Yeah, actually, I'll be on YouTube at Rymar865 there as well. I'm actually planning on doing a lot of it because I've got a lot of Among Us gameplays that I need to just puke all over YouTube. So wait for that.
All right, Tyler, you're streaming on and off. Where can we find you?
Yep. You can find me at Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook at the Grand Nizmo.
Where can we find you, Derek?
Don't remember my Twitter handle actually.
It's at Wren Modulus.
I don't
It's on the
think- I don't really
screen.
use
Don't worry about it.
At Wren
Yes.
Modulus.
Yes, it's right there, right
screen.
there.
It's somewhere in this general vicinity.
I believe his YouTube will be the same.
No, I actually, no, I've actually set up a YouTube Ren Tech,
Ren Tech. Okay.
Ren Tech.
Ren Space Tech.
Ren
Yes.
Tech.
I'll have to go follow that
Yeah,
today.
so most of my stuff is going to be tech related or gear related. Probably a lot of reviews and things like that. Maybe some tutorials on even some video games here and there. I've already got a tutorial on a video game I want to do because I had trouble finding out how to do it. And
Nice.
figured, okay, well, do
Well,
a tutorial on it.
Look forward to that. I'll have to update all of the social cards to everyone's current thing that they're doing. And then you can find me, of course, on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, all the above, WhiskeyTenn, and then Twitter, Whiskey_10. It's been real, guys. It's been I know we talked a lot of politics. Final update before we end things. Joe Biden is still leading at 131 electoral votes as of 10:14 p.m. and Donald Trump is behind at 98. Texas and Florida are still haven't closed out, so who knows where things will end up. But yeah, we will see you guys, hopefully, if the world hasn't ended by the time. We'll see you the next time we do that. But anyways, bye for now.
I
everybody.
won't end by next week.
We'll see. Anyways, bye for now,
Is that a
everybody.
challenge?
Have a good one.
Bye.